And I realized how nice it was to have an apartment where you don't have to worry about
anything. God, man.
fixing your air conditioner. Like we had our air conditioner go out here in the middle of summer, and it was
I remember that. I
was
was
awful.
over here.
Oh yeah.
I was over here. Y'all had like a black,
Oh,
it's like trash bags everywhere trying to.
it was horrible.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I mean, I didn't have to worry about paying $1,000 to get it fixed.
No, my buddy had his air conditioner bust. He'd been in his house for 14 years. His air conditioner busted. $8,000 in Colorado.
Oh.
$8,000, and get this,
Jeez.
when he was trying to save up to like, he had his family and him survived without air conditioning for 2 weeks. He had him in a hotel for a couple days, and then came back and were like just gonna power through. It's the middle of the summer in Colorado.
Jeez.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he loses his job, and he finds another job. Like he gets severance pay, right? So they like, sorry, you're laid off or whatever.
Here's money for a new air conditioner.
We're gonna give you 3 months of pay, but you have no more pay coming in. It's like,
Yeah.
oh crap! So he found a job, and luckily he found the job before the severance pay ran out. So that was like a bonus for him to pay for their. But it's a budget buster, dude.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
you gotta have a big emergency fund for
Right,
house stuff.
right. And yeah, man.
What are your thoughts on houses? Like,
Oh, I just that's my new. It's kind of like my new thing now. So I just got into it.
so where are you with it? Like, are you pro buying house or not?
Very pro
And what's the reason for that for you?
for me. All right. Okay. So teach their own first off, right? Because a lot of people, there's a lot of research right now that says like millennials are less. There's a less rate of millennials buying houses than ever before, right? As far as young people coming up, it has to do with a lot of like debt out of college, right?
Makes sense.
It has to do with the fact that housing prices are getting crazy, right? In a lot of the metro areas that these people are moving to get jobs, be it Seattle, Denver, Austin, whatever. I mean, I don't know if you heard, but Apple's expanding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right down the road from here, they're building a new $1 billion
Billion-dollar investment, 533-acre campus, 5,000 people initially. They want to raise it to 15,000. Apple's going to become the largest private employer in Austin, Texas.
Wow.
That's going to be crazy, right?
Yeah.
We already have numbers.
NASA
So
thinks
there's
that's
a
crazy.
long way of saying why I'm pro, but California companies are coming to Texas like crazy right now. There's an article that Lizzie sent me that over 1,800 companies are moving from California to Texas, just because it's like tax friendly and all this stuff, right? And I'm a big believer, and it does take some time, but I'm a big believer in like, okay, if you're gonna earn money, right, the best ways to help make your money work for you is to invest in things where your money can be used in something that it will go up in value. So I'm a big believer in like, if you can't afford it, try to buy somewhere that maybe the home value will be better in 5 years or whatever, right?
So you're looking at it as an investment.
As an investment play. That's one of the main reasons I see. Like I think of, everybody's got like, well, if you're trying to retire, you have like some form of a retirement account or whatever, right? Again, teach their own. But I think the biggest investment you make in your life, theoretically, is a house, right? Because I am of the opinion, I think you are too, like no debt is a good way to live, right?
Yeah.
And you live within your means. But like really the only significant debt you should really take on in your life, unless you can save up, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right, is for a house.
So some of this stuff that I saw when I was looking for a house, which has been like 3 years now ago, probably when I was really kind of researching it and looking, was that houses lately, and I don't know what lately means, maybe like the last 10 years or something, whatever, they haven't been raising in value more than either inflation or something like an equivalent investment, say just buying stocks or whatever. So what are your thoughts on owning a house if it actually, just pretend world, if it isn't actually a good investment, like it's an okay investment but not a good investment? Are you still pro house in the sense that you have your own space, you can do a garden or whatever?
Okay, so beyond just like, let's say you're lucky enough to buy a house where it does go up in value over the course of 5, 10, 15 years, right? That's great. Good for you. Lucky. Let's say you live in an area where you buy a house and it doesn't go up in value as you expected. There's one other component that's a little bit different the reason why I'm pro houses. For the past 10, 15 years that you've been spending apartment money, let's say your rent is $700 a month. Multiply that by 12, then multiply that by the number of years. That amount of money is gone from a leasing or renting perspective. That amount of money that you put into a house, from a principal standpoint, is there.
Got it.
So it's equity. That's the only reason. So it's equity. So if it doesn't go up, if it stays the exact same in value, you've built up equity for 10 years that you can either use.
So I guess, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry if you had more.
No, I mean, but the thing is and here's the rub, right? Because I've thought about this a lot. Like, for instance, living in Denver, it makes me want to cuss. It's all about supply and demand, the law of supply and demand. If there's a high demand for housing and there's low supply, that means housing prices are going to be through the roof. That also means rent, if you're just renting, is going to be through the roof. And this is what they're saying in a lot of metros, if rent is just as high as house, then obviously go for the house. You're going to create equity. But it used to be back in the U.S. that, hey, if you choose to buy a house, good for you, chap. Way to go, right? Go get some equity, do your thing. But if you want to eventually be there, you could rent and you could save up because rent was so low. So we're living in a day and era where, like, that's kind of, it's a gray area now. Like, people are charging $1,800 a month for apartments. Well, crap, a mortgage could be $1,100 a month, right? So you have to pick and choose, like, okay, what do you want to do? Like, if you can find a way of getting by, meaning in renting an apartment it's minimal cost, then do that, and you have, like, your whole world in front of you where you can pick how you want to allocate your money, right? But if rent is squishing you to a point where it's the same, then I would say maybe opt for the house kind of thing.
Let's do a make-believe scenario.
Yeah.
So we rent a house. We rent an apartment, $1,200 a month. We buy a house, $1,200 a month for, what's the average, like 20, 30 years?
30-year mortgage, 20-year mortgage, yeah.
Yeah, let's say 30 years. I don't know.
360 payments, yeah.
Let's say it's the same monthly payment as the house as it is an apartment. Mm-hmm. Let's just, first of all, what kind of costs do you see going into a house that you wouldn't have in an apartment? So, first of all, mowing and taking care of the lawn or whatever.
So you're gonna let's talk about the basic things that are similar, and then we'll cut off, right? Okay. So, a house and apartment, you gotta pay for electricity. Maybe your house is a little bit bigger than your apartment, so you pay a little bit more.
So utilities.
Maybe utilities, yeah. But internet are gonna be there both ways. They're gonna be very similar. Right. Water, depending on, are you hosting a lot? Do you have a lot of guests? Do you have roommates? Like,
let's say that would be the same.
Same. Right? Okay, so water is going to be somewhat similar.
Assuming you have the same size apartment.
Right. House, whatever, right? And then,
real quick, do you think you probably get a bigger house than you do an apartment paying the same monthly?
Yeah, right? Everything is relative. It's all about location.
So I'm just pointing that out because, like, let's say same location. Say we're talking about this apartment.
This is a fun conversation. I love this.
Yeah,
I love
this
stuff.
is interesting. Say this apartment, and then there's a house across the street.
Okay. 2-bedroom.
We're both paying $1,200 a month for this apartment and the house across the street. We'd probably get a bigger house, right? Square foot wise.
Yeah, because think about this.
And yard. And you'd have a yard.
Exactly. But
with that, your utilities will be a percentage higher each month because of that, right? So we do have to calculate that.
Yeah. Well, put this in perspective.
Okay.
You're paying $1,200 a month. Obviously, there's differences between your $1,200 payment could be, $600 or $700 principal, $200 loan, $100 HOA, $150 insurance, so you have to pay for things above the principal and loan amount that you don't have to pay in apartments that are different.
So now we're breaking off.
We're breaking off, yeah. But $1,200 payment over the course of 30 years, that equals a $430,000 house, right?
Okay.
Like that's what 1,200 times 360 is. So yeah, absolutely. To your point, an example, $1,200 monthly payment is going to be able to provide a lot more than just a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment or whatever.
Okay. Maybe let's break down
Here's things that you have to worry about though. Like
I was about to say, let's break it down to easy like pluses for owning a house and then minuses for owning a house.
So let's start with
compared to apartment living.
Let's start with minuses.
Or renting.
All right. If you rent, you pay a certain amount of money a month, and that does not change for a rent unless it goes up.
Yeah,
every
like here,
year.
It seems like it might go up every year. So.
Right. So, right. You do not have to pay for you maybe your renter's insurance if you want to get renter's insurance, right? Or a certain
we pay for renter's insurance.
It's probably lower
than
a housing insurance, right? Most likely.
And with a house you pay taxes on the land, right?
Pay taxes on everything.
But not when you're apartment or when you're renting, correct?
Correct.
So that's another good thing for renting.
If you're renting, you don't have to pay homeowners insurance. Yep, you don't have to pay for.
You have to pay renters usually, but would you say that homeowners are probably more expensive? I'm sure. Yeah, it's
way more expensive. Yeah. Way more expensive. I
figured out the answer as I was asking. I was like, of course.
Yeah, homeowners insurance. If you are renting, you do not have to pay for taxes on an annual basis or worry about taxes going up.
Oh, that's...
Taxes, that's the concept of gentrification. What's happening in Denver, what's happening in Austin. People have been living in Austin city limits for 30, 40, 50 plus years, Calvin. They haven't done any improvements on their home. They haven't done any landscaping. Their home value is just going through the roof because they're so close to all these cool areas in Austin. And the tax district has said, you're living in a really, really nice neighborhood because of the location to all these restaurants and fun bars.
So the taxes are going up, but
the home value goes up, and maybe the taxes go up because the home value goes up. 2.2% of a $200,000 house is way less than 2.2% of a $700,000 house. And what if they deem your house worth $700,000 just based off the land it's on?
Well, I don't have a house.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But that's just. And that then tells those people, well, I can't afford. Think about this. Think about you go on a 30-year mortgage. It's a fixed mortgage rate, meaning you have the same interest for 30 years.
Okay.
And you're like, okay, I can afford this. It's $1,200 a month, everything included. My payback for the loan, in combination with the interest, because every time you get a loan, you pay the principal, which is the amount that the house value is, plus the interest on
which
the loan.
Right now is probably what, like 4 to 5?
4 to 5, yeah, depending on your credit score. Yeah,
4 to 5%, 2019, 4 to 5% for
a 30-year mortgage.
30-year mortgage.
Yeah, I would say anywhere between, probably because the feds are raising it, it's probably between 4.5 and 7, depending upon your credit score, right? Okay. It used to be like when Pat first bought his home, way back in the day, with Chelsea, his first home. You could get like for
real cheap,
3.25% interest, right? Because it just hit a low.
Yeah,
so.
It goes like this.
Yeah.
About every 7 years is what I.
Yeah.
One of the few books I've read, that was one of the coolest things. Was like, over 7 years it will go from like, 7% home and auto interest rates, and then they go down to two or so, and then the Federal Reserve decides, oh, we need more money in the system or whatever, it goes up or.
Exactly. However economy's stronger. Let's raise the interest rates. When the economy is low, let's get people to buy into these low interest rates, right? So
when we need people to buy stuff, we lower the interest rates. When we need them to slow down the economy, we raise them so that people won't buy as much.
And it's a strong economy, and maybe they have more money to do it. I don't know.
And another reason to do that is like to help protect the value of the dollar, right? Is that kind of?
It does.
I never really understood quite.
Hey, look, if you and I understood it, our podcast would be through the roof. Here's how the Federal Reserve. Fed, I mean, people
we'll get back to homes then.
No, I'm just saying, like, people that study this for 30 years don't understand sometimes what the Fed does. You know what I mean? Sometimes the Fed is a guessing game. Like Ben Bernanke wrote that book, who was managing the financial crisis. I mean, they're mathematicians, but they're making calculated assumptions on how it's going to affect the economy.
That's interesting. When I was really big into the stock market, which was like from like 2010 to 2015. And we used to talk about this all the time. Like that was our thing back in 2010 was like the stocks.
Hell yeah.
You and I were just learning stocks, and like we were studying it all the time. I was reading books about it. I hardly ever read books. I was reading books about stock market. We learned a lot, and that was one of the things. Is like they were a lot of the stock people was like, oh, the Federal Reserve is about to make their announcement, and so like that they had a huge impact on the stock market based on, oh, we might raise rates or we might lower rates and we might keep them the same. And it was always a big deal when the Federal Reserve came out and said their stuff. But yeah, like I know it's important, but again, kind of like what you said, I don't really understand it. I mean, I understand on a very basic level.
Right.
But that's interesting that they go through all the math. They probably use a bunch of math and guesswork to try to figure out how their decisions are going to impact the economy.
Well, I mean, what was it? What was that term used in the mid 2000s? It was like a made up word that like spoke. The term meant federal injection of money. It was like social, like monetary easing. Something easing. Do you remember that?
Sounds familiar.
What was it? It was such a bullshit word.
Monetary easing.
Fiscal easing, Federal Reserve. Hold on. This is gonna blow. Quantitative easing.
That
Quantitative
familiar.
easing, also known as large-scale asset purchases, is an expansionary monetary policy whereby a central bank buys predetermined amounts of government bonds or other financial assets in order to stimulate the economy and increase liquidity. Quantitative easing.
I do remember. Can you remind me if this was part of the quantitative easing? Like in 2009, maybe Christmas time or something. The government gave people like $1,000 to stimulate the economy or something.
I don't remember that, but I believe you. But I don't remember that.
It might not have been 1,000, but it was several $100 at least. And it was like they're like, go buy stuff like to boost the economy. Like it was like you literally got a check in the mail. It was like, here, go buy stuff,
dude.
And it was back when the economy was crap. Like,
oh yeah, it was the worst.
Yeah.
To break down the house thing, right? For me, when I think about buying a house, I think about can you find an apartment at a way lesser rate, and are you able to save money to do things that you want to do in life or that you want to like save up to spend money on? And if you can't, if you're in a position where rent is just as much as a house, then obviously the easy decision is go into a house. But if you go into a house, you have to consider the added cost beyond just the rent. So let's say your rent in an apartment is $800 and that you could get a mortgage, right? A 30-year mortgage for $900. Well, that's not equal because your $900 mortgage only covers the cost of your home, the principal and the interest associated with it. It doesn't cover your $120 a month for homeowners insurance. So now instead of $900, now it's $1,020.
$200 lawnmower.
You don't. How about not even like those variables, but how about just another form of like your monthly payment? How about a $250 in addition to your principal and interest and your homeowners insurance, $250 to cover your taxes. So that $900 then soon balloons up to $1,400 a month just to cover your basic living, like just to cover like the ability to walk into your house. Doesn't cover electricity, utilities, any of that stuff. So all that stuff starts to balloon up.
I will say this about the renting versus buying. Growing up, I was way more, I guess, mainstream. I don't know what to call it, but like, I want to go to college, and then I want to get married to my high school or college sweetheart, and then I want to have a family and have, a house. The older I get, I'm 31 now, the more I realize how much I've moved since I left college. I mean, growing up, I was in the same house from age 0 to 18. went to college, was there for 5 years, made a victory lap.
Yeah, baby.
Go Crew.
National champs.
Yeah. But since then, man, I have moved like, I don't even know. Like, I honestly, I'll have to count it in my head probably 7 times in 10 years or something. Like, I've moved a lot. And noticing that, yeah, it's changing jobs, chasing love. Mm-hmm. That didn't work. Leaving, going, back and forth here or there. I like Austin. I'll go back to work somewhere else. Come back to Austin. Whatever. But if I'm in a house and I bought, a house is not in my opinion, a good liquid investment. Like, liquid being, I can't buy a house and then make profit off of it within a year feasibly. I know there's people out there that do it. I know you can flip houses. Mm-hmm. But like, for someone that just buys a house in a place that you want to live, and then it happened to go up in that year, it could very well go down in a year.
Correct.
Prices fluctuate a lot with a house. So for someone like me who's agile in a sense that my life's kind of not very predictable as I would have thought it would be when I was younger, I move a lot. I do, owning a house for me sounds like probably not a smart thing, but for someone that knows they want to be in this spot and they're going to work at the same job until retirement, maybe it is. Like, I don't know.
I think you bring up a good point. The only reason you would probably want to get a house is if you know that you're going to be in an area for a minimum. I say a minimum
10.
I say a minimum of 3. I say a minimum of 3 years, because after 2, you can sell it, right? And yeah, it depends whether it goes up or not. But the taxes are going to be good enough.
Realtor cut, that's another thing.
Right. But if you know you're going to be somewhere for like 3 years, and if you want to be there, maybe. Some people's minimum is 5, some people's minimum is 10, whatever, right?
I just pulled that out of my
Yeah, but like it's not meant to be a short-term investment like you're alluding to. It's meant to be, I'm stable, I know I want to be around this area. Okay, let me sink my teeth in, let me create some roots, right? Let me get into a community or whatever, right? And maybe the house purchase could be for a lot of different things. It could be that I want more bedrooms so I could host, or I want that garden, right? I want a piece of property so I can create a garden, or I want a backyard for my dog, right? Or I want a backyard for my daughter. Or it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but it definitely, in my opinion, is for a longer term investment.
Let's give our thoughts about not what we think is a good or bad investment, but what currently you and I both think is best for ourselves and why.
Yeah.
Do you think that kind of is?
That'd be easy. Easy.
You want to go or me?
Yeah. You go first. Yeah.
All right.
You're nomadic.
So yeah, I mean, I didn't think I would be as nomadic as I am, but I'm definitely, since I was, left college at the age of 22 or 20, however old I was, mm-hmm. I've been nomadic, like moving a lot. And for me, the more I'm in an apartment, I sometimes, depending on the apartment complex, sometimes I feel like maybe I was in like a safer feeling or not so much safe, but just like more welcoming, I guess is a good word.
Yeah,
so I've lived in several apartment complexes where it's just like, everyone, all the people head down and like,
oh God, yeah.
And it's just, it doesn't feel very welcoming. But I think for me, if I could find a nice apartment complex that had, a welcoming feel and it was more community driven versus like, I'm here to go to my hole and don't talk to me kind of thing, like that's not very fun. But I'm sure there's neighborhoods like that too. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But yeah, I've really enjoyed I lived with my older brother for about 2 years, and he had a house at the time. And, neither of us wanted to mow like once a week, twice a week, or whatever.
Right.
And like living in an apartment, I love not having to worry about any of the
no
yard chores. And not because I'm lazy or anything, but like, I want to spend my time doing other things like creating and, when you're having to mow your lawn once or twice a week, you can't do that. Or when you're having to fix your own air conditioner instead of like sending a maintenance request. Like, it's very different. So for me, I've really enjoyed the nice, like, not really having to worry about whether things are falling apart and just kind of living my own life, and knowing that, like, hey, if I need to move, I can either cut my lease and pay a fee, or what I've done in the past is just live there a couple more months and then move, or whatever. It's not like I feel like, oh crap, I bought this house for $200,000, now it's worth $185. Maybe I should live here for another year and see if it goes up.
Right.
So yeah, that has been nice for me. But again, growing up, I would have thought, oh, I want to live in a house and then move up in the job I work at until I retire, and then retire. But now,
You're right. So when we talk about a house, apartment, there's not like a sense of like going after money or going after like financial means. It's a difference in where people are, maybe even in their life. Like, for instance, for me, I have a little one now, right? And I've got to think about, it's not just my future, but it's, my daughter's future. And, it's weird, like how the brain works. Like, you become a parent, you instantly like think about what you had, and you kind of like, well, maybe I want to show something new to my daughter that I never got a chance to have, right? And so I grew up with friends that always had like a little bit of land here and there. You can just, build a bonfire, or like go explore, or they got to be one to host their friends over and go explore together on these little trails.
I like how you're
and all that
answering
stuff.
the rent or own.
Yeah, and
That's
so where I'm at in my life is I know that my daughter's gonna be in a certain town and gonna grow up in a certain district. To maybe,
so you're gonna
right?
be there.
So I'm gonna be there and be a part of her life, and maybe what I want to give to her is like a little house on a little piece of land, right? And maybe with that she gets to see different animals grow up in that land too. Maybe she gets a little goat, right? Maybe we have a little like miniature horse or a donkey, and we name it something, and it's fun for her. Maybe she gets a pig. Maybe we have chickens. I don't know.
Do whatever.
Yeah, whatever you want.
But you can't have a pig. I can't bring a pig in this apartment.
You could have a small little miniature pig.
You can?
Yeah, they have miniature pigs
In the apartment? I don't think they allow it.
Certain apartments do. I know. Certain apartments allow rabbits.
So I'm still on the rental side.
Yeah.
Bring my pet pig.
I'm absolutely obsessed with these pigs that don't grow any more than 20 pounds. They're like mini pigs.
Is that like legit, or is that
that's legit?
But I mean, legit being like,
there are some scams out there where they said this is one of those, and then you get it.
Boom.
Yeah, exactly.
Within a week.
Yeah, you already named it. You're not gonna give it up, right?
No,
the
she
kids
bought
love
a pig
it.
from a car salesman.
Exactly. That's the pig rate.
No offense to the car salesman.
None whatsoever. Yeah, but that's one of the things where my mind is at. Like, okay, I know where I'm gonna be. Maybe it's not even where I want to be, but I'm gonna be there, and I want to create something for Jules that maybe I didn't get to have. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I get to give her everything she wants. And I also,
that's a good point.
I want to teach my daughter. So, for instance, one of the things that's on my mind, Jules is 18 months old, right? By 5 years old, I want her to know how to make dinner for the family. What I mean by that is, it's not hard to make dinner. We were just talking about how easy it is to flip a quesadilla, right? Right. I want her to be able to like know how to like open up a can of soup, turn on the burner to like medium or low, pour it in, take 2 pieces of bread, put some butter on them, put them down, put a slice of cheese, make some grilled cheese and soup, and do it safely and securely. And that to me empowers her to go.
Sorry, that just like, that was such a dad meal.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I loved it though.
But like, yeah, it is a dad meal. But like, that is
it's perfect.
But it comes from a conversation I was having with a professor at Colorado Christian University who got her PhD when she had 3 kids, and they were all under the age of 15. I was like,
wow,
how do you do that? How do you do that?
And working.
And she said, how I did it was each day of the week, somebody was assigned to make dinner for the family. So whether it was her 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 12-year-old, or the husband, they had to own that day of the week for dinner. It was their responsibility. And I was like, that is empowering. That's life skills.
Cool.
You don't go to school and
that's empowering versus
Oh, I know I can do algebra.
I didn't have that, so I'm going to give you all of that.
Right.
Instead of I'm going to give you the resources to be able to do all this.
Knowledge is power, man.
That's
cool. And that's what I really want to focus on, like, as far as a parent is, like, not. And they talked about. Have you ever heard this lawn mowing parent mentality?
Lawn mowing parent.
That's what they're calling it, lawn mowing
Where
parents.
the child sits on the.
Well, they say, like, anything that gets in the way, they just mow it over.
Oh.
Any roadblocks.
I was thinking it was more literal, like the kids that sit on their parents' lap when they mow the lawn, like Bond.
Right. Oh, that's helicopter parents.
Opposite.
Yeah, helicopter parents, like the ones that are all circulating around.
All right, so lawnmower is what again?
They always move out all of the roadblocks that are in front of the kid.
So the kid never gets life is easy.
Correct. Yeah. Like, to the point of a kid forgets their water bottle that they love, and they can't go a day of school without it, and the parent has to take off of work, go home, go pick up that special water bottle. Like, you have to.
I definitely see that.
You have to go through stuff to understand, one, it's not all about you all the time, and two, like, that's what life is. It's about overcoming challenges, right? And, like, that's what, like, all the podcasts we've been, like, or I've been telling you about is, like, seeking challenges and overcoming and accomplishing things. And that's how, when you said you were retired, but you still wanted to do something, that's innate in human nature.
Progress. And
you have to accomplish something. Have a sense of accomplishment.
I definitely have that.
That's what fuels people to continue to be positive about themselves internally within your own inner voice. And I want to instill a good work ethic for my daughter, but also, like, I want her to be exposed to certain experiences that maybe is like a kindling or a spark to something that she wants to pursue. Like, I want her to know where vegetables come from, so I want to grow some with her, right? I want her to know that's how.
And you want to own that land.
Yeah, and I want her to know, like, hey, maybe sometimes if you want to do something in life, you got to get your hands dirty and do it yourself. You can't always pay for somebody to do something, because that came from a different generation where people back in the day.
I want a watermelon. Okay, let's grow it.
Let's grow watermelons. Or I want some pumpkins. Let's have a pumpkin patch. And that's, for me, is a bonding agent for my daughter too, right? Because I'm teaching her something that maybe I'm teaching myself at the same time.
Yeah.
But it'll help us be on a project
let's
together.
Figure it out.
It's a project. It's a father-daughter project, right? And so that's some of the things that I have in mind, and that's why I want to pursue that right now, right? If I didn't have a kid, be out there. I love Jules. I can't imagine life without her. But if I didn't have a kid, maybe I wouldn't be living in this country, Maybe I would go and live in Costa Rica or something like that, where I don't have to earn a lot of money and I can live, Like, that's where I'm at. Maybe that'll happen someday where, I have a little bungalow in Costa Rica and you just come down and visit and work on projects together and go to the beach.
Neighboring bungalows.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
That's a bucket list of mine. I've always wanted to, like, own a small little something outside the United States where, like, friends and I can just go. Just whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah.